Are there too many One Piece Funko Pops? Hey guys, Skittlerampage here. Welcome back to a new video. I do hope you're enjoying your day today. So this has actually been a video I wanted to do for a little bit, just talking about the One Piece line in its entirety and like just asking the question, is there too many? Are they overdoing it? Like putting too many chases, making too many characters that we don't necessarily need, variations that we don't need. So this video is going to be all about the One Piece line, new limited edition exclusives they're doing. We also have several new lines coming next year and in the next few months. And if you didn't know, the new Funko CEO Josh Simon happens to be a huge One Piece fan who met Oda. Now, before we continue, I do want to ask the question of the day in today's video, which is, how many One Piece Funko Pops do you own in your collection? I actually don't know, and I don't want to count. Let's guesstimate it, and I think I probably have like 50. Now, I should probably start this by mentioning that there's about 195 Funko Pops for One Piece that we currently know of. Not counting leaks or rumors out there. If you put those in there, then yeah, we're definitely past 200 on the One Piece line. And luckily, the Scarlet Joker over on Instagram just actually made a new guide showing off pretty much a majority of the set, I think outside of 2, and we're gonna go over one of the new ones that you may have not even seen yet that was announced today. So here is that full One Piece guide. It is pretty crazy. Like I said, this is about 195-ish pops deep, not counting these new leaks and rumors right here of a couple different characters and variations. There's so many chases and exclusives and just like silly variations we didn't need in this. It's pretty crazy for sure. Almost 200 pops with One Piece before the leaks it's so hard to think about, because like at one point I had a lot more in my collection and I had no choice but to dwindle them down because they were just making too many, especially of the same. There's plenty of characters on here that I could point out that I just don't think were the strongest seller and like choices for Funko Pops. Like Sugar here, I'll pop her up on the screen for you guys, but Sugar here, for example, not enough people like that character enough for her to just get a figure. Like, it just didn't really make sense to me. It's not the strongest character choice, and sometimes I feel like they were just making characters and make characters. Arguably from Dressrosa, there's plenty of other characters they could have made, like the toy soldier, Rebecca's father, or even Rebecca, that I think would have been more notable in that Dressrosa line. I would even argue Foxy is more popular than Sugar in the series because it's well known that he's just so annoying that it left a mark on us. Now, another pretty strong choice of something they just shouldn't really have made was just a repackaged 4-pack, just making the Sabo glow with the fire at the end of the staff. Just a way to sell you it again in an exclusive 4-pack and get $60 more out of you. Just super unnecessary. Let's not mention all the random glows they've been doing, like the Zoro here from Wano. His hair doesn't glow, so that's weird. And then they did it again on the original Zoro as a Cody exclusive, making his full body glow almost and his hair again. It is just the weirdest choice. Now, like I said, I could sit here and go over plenty of characters that just didn't really need Funko Pops to be made. They should have just done more notable and popular characters. However, something else I wanted to touch up on really quickly for the One Piece line that they've been doing a lot is the sizing has been super weird and super inconsistent. Now, there's definitely been a few scam molds in the One Piece collection, like the Buggy on Throne notably, that they were charging, I think, $30 or $35 for, and it fit in a 4-inch box, basically charging you that extra money for the chair there. And it's still, to this day, I don't even think it's sold out at the Funko shop. Either they made a ton of it or people just really didn't like that price. You could even argue that Jinbei needed to be at least like a 6-inch pop, or in these days standard, maybe a premium, to show that he is in fact much bigger than most of the Straw Hats. I still think one of the biggest misses to this day was Kuma being a 4-inch pop, because he is such a towering character and has such a like big presence when you meet him that it's just like, why would you subject him to being a 4-inch pop like characters like Luffy or not? That just doesn't make any sense. So overall, like I mentioned, there's a lot of One Piece pops in there. There's a lot of missteps for sure. Characters we don't need, weird sizing in different character molds, and then, you know, unnecessary glow variations, sometimes even unnecessary chases. So they do it all with the One Piece line. Now, why is that though? Why do they do that? Well, we did technically find out officially recently over on their Q3 earnings report. They mentioned that One Piece was in their top 10 sales of Q3. So if you're wondering why you saw so many One Piece drops, every few weeks or so it felt like that's why, because One Piece was paying the bills essentially. Like, and this was even before Josh was CEO. This Cynthia was the previous CEO, and I'm guessing somebody just told her like, hey, One Piece is a gold mine right now, and we need to print, 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 print. And then now, as I mentioned, Josh, he is here now as the new Funko CEO. He is 60 days in, and as I said, he's a big One Piece fan, so that most likely means a big trouble for One Piece fans for the line. That means we're probably going to get so many other lines and characters, exclusives, chases, and more. And here's his own statement from the Toy Book article here saying, anime is one example. It's become our second biggest category of fandom. So as you can see, that's why they're pushing One Piece so much in that anime category there. It's making them so much money, apparently. He goes on to say, and I've personally been a One Piece fan for years. I've spent a lot of time getting to know the team at Shueisha over the years, who owns and manages that property. They publish the manga. I feel like one of the luckiest people in the world that I got to meet Oda. Okay, so if he met Oda, like I said, it's over. We're getting so many random One Piece things next year. We're probably getting mystery boxes, exclusives, 50,000 more chases, limited edition drops. As you know, we have 2 of our limited edition pieces so far, Sanji here, as well as recently Charlotte Pudding. Both of those are coming out this month. So expect more limited edition One Piece for sure, because I'm sure both of these are going to sell out. Now, I've actually been saying this for a while, and so have many other people. One Piece Funko Pop fatigue is definitely real, and a lot of people are feeling it. And just because you may not be and think, oh, you know, I want everything One Piece, I want them to print, 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 I want every single character. Not everybody has the funds to keep up. Not everybody can just keep spending, and even have the space to keep up with all that. But it does go into the saying, hey, you don't need them all. Nobody's forcing you to buy them, which is true. But at the same time, and it's also where the company itself, Funko, runs into a lot of issues where things just sit on the website. So let's go over the One Piece section at Funko really quickly and just go over a couple examples. Also, as you know, they've been getting into Biddy. They have big plans for Biddy Pop, so expect many more One Piece Biddies. They're going to try to get you that way too. I'm already seeing a couple good examples here. So we have the Usopp Wanted poster. Now, is Usopp the most popular Straw Hat? No. But does he have the best Wanted poster to date? Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, that is the best poster for One Piece they have made to date. It's on sale for $7.50 and still hasn't sold out. That means they printed too many, or people are just over the Wanted posters at this point. Here's another really good example of a really cool mold. We have Nico Robin with the Mini Mary. 5 years ago, 4 years ago or whatever, when Funko was in their prime during the pandemic and all that, this would have absolutely sold out almost instantly. Almost instantly. And if I'm not mistaken, they probably had a 6 limit at the time of this Nico Robin and did nothing. Even on sale at $9, not selling out. Same with the Nami with Hobby Horse. It just wasn't selling out, unfortunately, because they kind of overpriced these, actually. But they're using that ride name and those deluxe names and all these fancy category names as a way to charge you more money. Here's another great example of something that they just overprinted on. Kobe here from Anime Expo. I think they made I think it was like 20,000 of these, 20, 25,000 in that range. And it's like, why did you do that? Kobe's a likable character, do not get me wrong. He's awesome. If this was Honesty Impact Kobe, probably would have sold great. Look at Galaxy Impact Garp. People are so excited for that exclusive. It's one of the best One Piece exclusives in a while. But this Kobe is so bland and boring. It's just him standing there. It's not even an action pose. He's just at attention. It's nothing special, and even at $5, it's not selling out. They printed too many. And it's supposed to be for a Comic-Con. So why are you still printing over 20,000 for something like this? It should have had much lower stock levels to ensure it sold out and stayed limited, true to its name. Here's another really good example, and this only recently sold out when Funko did their Black Friday sale because it was $6 each and you got a pop protector with it. So it was just a fantastic deal. But why did this take so long to sell out? One, they had a huge stock count for it. And Blackbeard should have had no issue selling out. While you may not like him, he is one of the biggest antagonists in One Piece right now, and he's one of the most popular characters right now in One Piece. No reason this shouldn't have sold out. So this is the regular one where he's just using his dark fruit, and then he has the other fruit here in the other hand. It's just boring. They just put a bubble around his hand and want to charge you another $15 or make you spend all that money to try to go after that chase. And it's like, That's a horrible chase. And if I'm being honest here, it was just super lazy of Funko to even approve this design right here. This should have absolutely had darkness surrounding of him, or the quake effects around his hand there, and more darkness in the chase. They could have done so much more with this. And that's why it took so long for it to sell out, because people were starting to realize that Funko's just doing the bare minimum most of the time just to put out a one-piece pop to sell you. So here's the crown jewel of today's video, which is this boa Hancock here. So this boa, you can see she's standing up, she has her leg up, the snake all around her. We had this boa with the snake all around her. Today, we just got first looks at a new boa as a pop premium where she's sitting on her throne with the snake all around her, and she's in a different dress. So it's definitely a different mold. Obviously, it's a bigger mold and arguably better than this one, depending on, you know, which one you like, obviously. However, it does bring up the point that I'm trying to make here, is that they already are releasing another boa. After we hadn't had one for a while, this mold was great. They did a fantastic job on it. Did it need to be $20? Absolutely not. Should have been $15 without that force protector. But they can't even sell out of this one at $6 with a pop protector included, basically free. Like, you're basically stealing from them at this point at $6. It's such a great sale, but they can't even sell out of that. And then they're just gonna release another boa later this year for Winter Convention, most likely in December, if you're wondering. I'll talk about it in a future Funko news. My point being, they can't even sell out of this one. They overprinted on this one. They overcharged on it with the protector that nobody asked for to be forced on there. But then they're gonna release another one. How does that make sense? They're just releasing variations of the same characters just to try to sell it again because it's One Piece. And they're like, hey, they're gonna buy it. Genuinely, guys, I could go through the Funko shop all day going over all kinds of these molds saying, hey, this is something they could have done better, or this is something they could have done differently to help sell this better. Now, are they gonna get it perfect every single time? Obviously, no. I'm not thinking Funko's perfect by any means, but I do think they just push out one-piece pops just because it's a popular brand and they want to try to sell you something of the same 42 times over. And I don't think they should do that, because that leads into a mass overprinting problem, as I showed you with several of the exclusives. It's gotten to the point where a lot of collectors are dwindling down on their collection, myself included, because just simply can't keep up with all the One Piece. And I know people are going to make their jokes, oh, well, I'll buy them for you, I'll buy them all and all that. You are Funko's ideal customer. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but at the same time, you have to realize that you're being taken advantage of to an extent here. And I'm not saying it's not their job to put out products that you want, but at the end of the day, those should be quality products all the time, not just some of the time. And not putting the bare minimum on chases just to put out chases and make extra money. They need to put a lot more thought and time into these, so a lot more people will want to buy their product. Because if you do something the bare minimum, yes, you're gonna get a lot of the completionists, or maybe a casual fan will pick up and be like, oh, I like that character, but you're not gonna pull in all those newer people with these bare minimum molds. Here's one more point of something that I'm just super surprised about. We are expected to get a Jenny pop. Now, if you're not caught up with One Piece, you have no idea who that character is. I'm not gonna say who she is, but once you find out who she is, you'll understand how unnecessary it is for us to even have that pop. Like, it makes no sense to make this character. Are they significant to the story? Yes. But in a way where we need merchandise of her? Absolutely not. And again, that just goes to my point where they're just pushing out any and every character they can get their hands on just to sell you something with the One Piece logo on it. At the end of the day, guys, I still love what Funko does and puts out. I still buy their figures. I still have a wall of figures over here. But at the same time, I can still kind of call them out, or I still like to talk about things they could do better or improve upon, as well as things they should change, and not just keep pushing out One Piece figures just to push them out because they think you and I will buy them forever. That's not going to be the case. And in reality, they've been doing this with all kinds of different lines. One Piece just feels like it's really been in our face because in the last few years, we've gotten so much One Piece because they used to put out next to no One Piece figures. And then now, 5 to 6 years later, we have almost 200 in the set. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. I don't know though, let me know what you guys think about the Funko Pop line. Do you like it as is? Are there some characters that you think Funko should not have made? Do you think they can improve on the line? Anyways though, I do hope you enjoyed my thoughts and opinions on this topic today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below if you did enjoy, and subscribe and click that notification bell if you're new here.